Office of Community and Campus Life. The move follows federal pressure to dismantle DEI programs. The office will support first-gen and low-income students. Get BIN News Now on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
The Crohn's and Colitis Foundation has been at the forefront of inflammatory bowel disease research and care for over 50 years. Learn more about research, education, and support at Crohn'sColitisFoundation.org.
Is this the tackle?
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
The Dodgers got a dramatic win at home on Wednesday. Freddie Freeman delivered a 2-out, 2-run single in the bottom of the ninth to lift the Dodgers to a 4-3 win over Minnesota. Shohei Ohtani set a Dodgers record with a home run in 5 straight games. Ohtani hit his 37th in the first inning. The Angels were swept by the Mets in New York. They lost 6-3. The Angels could have swept the 3-game series with a couple of timely hits. They left 27 men on base in the series. The LA Sparks are at the Connecticut Sun tonight. The Sparks are aiming for their first 4-game winning streak in the WNBA since August 19, 2023. Congratulations to tennis legend Venus Williams. The 45-year-old Compton native confirmed her engagement to Andre Preddy, a 37-year-old actor from Denmark. Venus has a second-round match tonight in the DC Open against Magdalena Frech of Poland. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
At KBLA Talk 1580, we're proud to be celebrating 4 years on the air, but we know we could not have made it this far without you. We work hard every single day to curate conversations that will enlighten, encourage, and empower you. So, from all of us at KBLA Talk 1580, a big thank you for your love and support.
You don't know how much you mean to me.
And by the way, if your smartphone did not update automatically, be sure to download our brand new KBLA 1580 app. We think you'll love all the new features, including new ways to send us photos and video in real time, whenever news breaks, while we're on the air. It's a new dawn, a new day for KBLA Talk 1580, and we're glad you're on this journey with us.
You never turned away, you were right there. Thank you, thank you.
Hey man, hey, what's up, bro? What's the station you listening to? Oh man, you don't know? That's Talk Radio, KBLA 1580 AM. Check it out. 1580 KBLA AM. Progressive.
At KBLA Talk 1580, we're celebrating our 4th anniversary, and this track right here is the gift one of our devoted listeners presented to us.
Where you get some information, get a true education to know. Ooh, yeah. 1580.
How cool is that? Having a member of our KBLA delegation write us a song. Stop it! Our listeners love us and there ain't nothing we can do about it. Wouldn't want to. Thanks to Cardell and everybody else for turning on KBLA Talk 1580. We love you right black.
Hey, listen to this. All I needed was a new starter. Got a great deal on eBay. Did it myself.
Yeah, that's cool. But how about the soft purr of an upgraded exhaust when it fits just right?
For me, it's the little things. Like these new windshield wipers from eBay I installed.
From small fixes to big upgrades, eBay has all the parts you need at prices you'll love. Guaranteed to fit every time. eBay. Things people love. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply.
Why'd I go to the doctor? My heart would race just taking my son to practice. It didn't feel right. So I got checked out. Turns out I have atrial fibrillation. which increases the risk of stroke about 5 times.
Symptoms like irregular heartbeat, heart racing, chest pain, shortness of breath, fatigue, or lightheadedness can come and go. But if it's AFib, the risk of stroke remains. If you have symptoms, contact a doctor.
I'm so glad I did.
Visit notimetowait.com. Sponsored by Bristol Myers Squibb and Pfizer.
I'm Tavis, Smiley. Glad to have you with us in this last hour of our program today. We will talk on the backside of this hour with, I said Pennsylvania earlier, and actually I said Philadelphia. I meant Pittsburgh. I'm looking at Miles, my board op. He's such a Philadelphia Eagles fan that I'm always thinking Philly when I look through that glass. Summer Lee's out of Pittsburgh, not Philadelphia. We'll talk to her on the backside of this hour about the House Oversight Committee on Federal Law Enforcement yesterday passing her motion to subpoena the Department of Justice for the full unredacted release of the Jeffrey Epstein files. The files must be released to the House Oversight Subcommittee by the Department of Justice. This motion passed with bipartisan support on a vote of 8-2, as I mentioned earlier. So 2 Republicans crossed the aisle to vote with Summer Lee to demand that the Department of Justice release to this committee at least the full unredacted Jeffrey Epstein files. We talked earlier in today's show with Dr. Cornel West about the ways in which Donald Trump's administration moved to release the MLK files as another weapon of mass distraction away from conversation about the Jeffrey Epstein files, not to mention all the other things they have been doing, including accusing Barack Obama of treason, which got him to make a comment yesterday in response to that nonsense. But they're throwing everything at the wall, trying to avert our eyes from this implosion that is happening. I'm fascinated by the ways in which, as I said earlier, that what's got Donald Trump in hot water has nothing, frankly, to do with any agenda, any playbook that the Democrats have run. But nonetheless, he's up against the wall right now. We'll talk to Summer Lee again on the backside of this hour. We commenced this hour, though, in conversation for a few moments here with our regular contributor, Dr. Marcus Anthony Hunter, who is, of course, professor of African American Studies at UCLA. Marcus, how are you, sir?
I'm doing well, blessed in the city. Great to be with you always, King Tavis.
It's good to have you on this program as always, King Marcus. I don't even know where to start. There's so much happening right now. I got about 2 minutes now in this moment. We'll continue, of course, when we come forward. In the 2 minutes that I have now, what's your read broadly of this Epstein matter?
Yeah, it's becoming a bird in the hand for the Democratic Party. Should they play it away, I think that will help bring them back into a more fearsome spot against what has been their Trumpian opposition.
Yeah, I think it is becoming a bird in the hand, but it's fascinating, as I said earlier, that for all the plays that Democrats have run, the protest, the motions, the long speeches by Hakeem Jeffries and Cory Booker, AOC and Bernie out on tour, none of that seems to have put a dent in the armor of Donald Trump. But this implosion, again, by definition of implosion, seems to be of their own doing.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, part of it, as we know, is that the Christian right, the evangelical part of the country has been big in the Trump space. And so now we're talking about child abuse, human trafficking, ex-deviants, that this is something that will peel those people off because it's hitting at a moral point and back to a promise that President Trump said he would do once he became president, and he is not doing it.
Yep.
And in fact, calling them stupid, for believing or wanting these files to be released.
Yep. Because he teaches African-American studies at UCLA, I'm fascinated to get his take as well on the King Papers being released and a few other issues we'll cover when we come forward with Marcus Anthony Hunter on Tavis Smiley.
Interrogating and unpacking. That's what we do around here. You're listening to Tavis Smiley.
Make a move into a home of your own. With City National Bank's Ladder Up Home Loan Grant, you could receive up to $20,000 that you never need to pay back. Use it toward your down payment, save on closing costs, or to buy down your mortgage rate. Find out more at cnb.com/ladderuphome. City National, here for every stage of the journey. Property must be in a qualifying market in California, New York, or New Jersey. Additional terms and conditions apply. Not all applicants will qualify. Terms are subject to change without notice. City National Bank is an equal housing lender. Member FDIC. NMLS number 536994.
BET and PBS, the Tom Joyner Morning Show, and NPR, the cover of Jet and the cover of Time. #1 on the New York Times bestsellers list, 20 honorary doctorate degrees, a dozen NAACP Image Awards, a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame, a Presidential Lifetime Achievement Award. From talk shows to talk radio, nobody's ever done it better. You like that? This is Tavis Smiley. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580, connecting you with services and solutions. The Autopsy Initiative provides a second autopsy free of charge for victims' families who have lost their loved ones due to a police-related death. The services offered through the initiative include the completion of a second autopsy, disclosure of preliminary findings, and a final autopsy report. A police-related death is when an individual is harmed by police officers using deadly force, which results in an individual's death. Police-related death includes in-custody deaths, including those that arise during contact with law enforcement officers during arrest, pursuit, booking, transport, or incarceration. The Autopsy Initiative has a team of board-certified pathologists on call. An autopsy request may be completed by anyone with a close relationship with the victim, which may include the victim's spouse, partner, relative, close friend, or lawyer. To request a free second autopsy for a victim of police violence, please visit knowyourrightscamp.com. That's knowyourrightscamp.com. Then click on Autopsy, then click on Request. At KBLA, we believe in justice for victims of police violence. We say their names, and we don't black down. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
More honesty than you can handle. More empowerment than you can imagine. You're tuned in to Tavis Smiley.
Tavis Smiley and Marcus Anthony Hunter, professor at UCLA. So, Marcus, I've been thinking about the ways in which black leaders historically have been put another way, have become targets of the state. Dr. West and I discussed earlier today this notion of not just taking King's life, but now trying to tarnish his legacy, even beyond King. Again, because you teach this stuff every day. Usher me into a conversation again about the ways in which the state, this country, has so targeted black leaders down through the years.
Yeah, I mean, this kind of begins, a good example is with what happened at the end of the Biden administration, where he posthumously pardoned Marcus Garvey, who basically only just had like a dream and a vision for black people to go back to Africa, their home. And he was then turned into something that was the opposite of his message and the kind of love he had for black people. And only in death did we see that at least the charge, be removed from his physical record. But he was made to leave the earth with that hanging over him, when it was actually just an attempt to disparage and discredit him, which on some level had been successful in real time, but over time, because I often tell my students, history is a great filter. And oftentimes there are people who think they will be remembered who go very forgotten. So, for example, Dr. W.B. Du Bois was invited by the University of Pennsylvania in 1897 to go do research to study what they call, quote, the Negro problem. They never offered him a job. He never became an Ivy League professor. But we remember him. We don't even know who was on the faculty of the sociology department in 1897. So it's also to say history works like that, where I think a lot about, even with the MLK files, files, I want to say, while on one level, I totally understand the family's position around the grief and also suspicion and distrust, because if you have a family member who's assassinated in a plot that could have been prevented, you will always carry a certain amount of distrust. But I think subversively, this might be an opportunity for historians and other kind of history buffs to figure out a kind of sociology of assassination that is very endemic to this period of time, because we also have the JFK files, the RFK files. That is a very fascinating period of American history where people were offed publicly. And the American public never really got a sense of how that managed to happen so consecutively. I mean, we can fold Malcolm X into it, and now we're talking 4 assassinations on American land where we don't have a lot of answers. And so there's something underneath about that being a major tool to eliminate the truth and the light that people were experiencing from figures.
You're talking about assassinations historically. I'm thinking, as you're talking about the fact that we find ourselves in a season right now, in a moment right now where there's an open season on black people. I'm thinking of, again, the Trump administration's attempt to try to give 1 day in prison for the officer who shot indiscriminately into that window. We know Breonna Taylor ultimately ended up dead, perhaps not from a bullet he shot, but he certainly was found guilty of having violated her civil rights, was facing life in prison. Trump's DOJ steps up and asks for 1 day in prison. Thankfully, the judge didn't go for that, and that former officer now ends up getting, 33 months in prison. But I'm thinking about the Breonna Taylor case. I'm thinking about Trump jumping ahead and releasing these MLK files against the wishes of the family. I'm thinking about a long litany of things. No police accountability in cities where black people are being killed. The attacks on DE&I. You and I could do this all day long if we had the time. What message? Here's my question. What message, Marcus Anthony Hunter, is Donald Trump sending to black folk?
Confusion, chaos, and also uncertainty. You know, there's this way where you have what Kamala Harris said at the State of the People power tour stop in L.A., high velocity events. You know, so part of what's happening is you just inundate people with things. I mean, in the case of the MLK files, we're talking thousands of documents. You just release thousands of documents, but you can't release the list. You know, presumably a list is way shorter than thousands of files. You know, I even myself, just being an avid student of history and a student in general, I just went over to the Department of Justice's website, the National Archives, to see what these MLK files look like. And I mean, there are so many files, so many. So to inundate people with that much information while also stonewalling them on something that is much shorter is that chaos and confusion.
Yeah, I've raised this question a number of times, and I don't mean to put you inside their heads, but when you saw the way the Trump administration showed up asking for 1 day in prison for Breonna Taylor, and now you see the way he far ahead of the calendar schedule to change the subject, they released the MLK files. If this is an evidence that black lives don't matter to Donald Trump, I don't know what is. There's now this list gets longer and longer and longer every day, and I'm trying to juxtapose this list that is elongating by the day with those black people who did vote for Donald Trump in 2016, 2020, 2024. And as you know, the number of black people voting for him increased every time he ran. Can you, in your mind, in any way juxtapose these black people, increasingly those who did, and we know that black people by and large still support the Democratic Party, but I'm just talking about those persons, and everybody's got somebody in their family who did this. We all do, who voted and supported Donald Trump. I'm wondering how they must be processing these moments every single day. It seems there's some new evidence that suggests that Donald Trump does not care. Kanye said about George Bush, George Bush don't care about black folk. Well, the same can be said, Kanye, about Donald Trump. I digress. Your turn, Marcus Anthony Hunter.
Yeah, and the same perhaps can be said about Kanye, you know, just to keep that whole line going.
Didn't see that coming. I didn't see that coming, but I know you couldn't help yourself. Okay. Shots fired. Man down. Down.
Right. Or said about yay. Let me get that right.
Yeah.
I think part of it, this has been one of the real stubborn boundaries around Trump's support, is that anything that sounds like holding him accountable for what he does and says is read by supporters as hate or as like left-wing media talking points, and not exactly as the truth. So part of it is, just it goes back to an old West Indian saying that a mama to me, Beryl Shaw, imparted to me from the Virgin Islands, those who do not hear will feel. Mm-hmm. And part of what we see in a lot of the policies is that he's attempting, and by he, I mean Donald Trump and the Republican Congress, is attempting to hide or delay the feeling part. So we know, for example, certain kinds of cuts only roll in after the midterm elections, because part of what's happening is that, like, when people say, you're going to cut your Medicare, or they're going to cut your Medicaid, and you're not going to have this, and you're not going to have that, people will be like, I haven't felt it. Y'all are just yelling into the forest. Y'all are just watching MSNBC. Y'all don't know what y'all are talking about, because the feeling part has been set up to be so after the election happens. So that's the midterm election happens. So there's that part that's going on, the resistance to hear and see, and also the delay of you finally feeling the burn of what he is actually doing that is anti-Black. So that's, I think, a very intense strategy that he's been unveiling and putting out, and to many ways to great effect, because we haven't yet really seen the kind of Black voters who are supporting them, or the Latino voters who are supporting them, rolling back that support, coming forward and saying, I should have picked Kamala Harris, or I should have picked a Green Party member. We haven't quite heard that yet. So we're not getting the buyer's remorse crescendo yet, but the way things are going, it seems like it's all really set up for the presidential election cycle for that buyer's remorse to really be hitting home at that point.
Yeah. How should Democrats be reading or moving or showing up in this moment? I said earlier that despite all they've done, nothing seems to have been a chink in his armor. But now he really is against the wall. This story about Jeffrey Epstein is not going to go anywhere anytime soon, that is. How should Democrats be moving in a moment like this?
Yeah, I think the very first step is to be moving with some unity. Yeah. I mean, that is a big, big flaw of the Democratic Party, especially relative to the Republican Party. Even in cases of discord, even around the Jeff Epstein scenario, there are Republicans who are not on the side of the majority of their party, and they are still relatively keeping it interior to that discussion, where early on, even when Democrats are in power, we immediately see people camp out into their own little feudal systems inside the party, and you don't get the unity. So the very first thing is that there needs to be unity around a platform and a series of issues, and there has to be coordinated approaches to these things. So, for example, if we knew that he was giving that joint session of Congress, we know he's going to get a State of the Union next year. Maybe there should be a coordinated walkout of all of the Democrats together when he says something regarding the Jeff Epstein papers or not. Something that looks like y'all all met as a caucus, y'all met as a party, and y'all have an agenda that is helping us to optically see that there is active resistance going forward to a lot of the policies that he has, rather than seeing individual people stepping forward and seeing those individuals, but not necessarily seeing, for example, like a coordinated amount of support for Congresswoman LaMonica out of New Jersey, who's been indicted. Where's the unity of voice about that? We don't see it.
I'm glad you raised that. What is your read of that? She seems to be twisting in the wind, and if you don't know what we're talking about here, this is the Congresswoman out of Newark, who, along with Ras Baraka, were arrested outside that immigration detention center. They dropped the charges against Mayor Baraka, but they have not dropped charges against the Congresswoman. They're going in on her, and you're right. I've not seen much Democratic unity or Democrats saying much of anything about her still being on the hot seat, as it were.
Absolutely. I think, having had the fortune to be on Capitol Hill a number of times, I've seen who you're going to have. Our sister, I often say my cousins are from Pittsburgh because I was raised in Philly. Shout out to the land of August Wilson and Representative Summer Lee coming later in this hour. But she's been putting forward some important leadership and policy. Ayanna Pressley doing the same thing, Jasmine Crockett doing the same thing, Latifah Simon doing the same thing. I would love to see this Democratic Party get behind these 4 Black women and follow them into the fire. Let's pull all of their things together and see how they can lead us and speak to the generation that almost got Kamala Harris in office after 107 days. Yeah. So I think it's really about not waiting on some white man or man to be in the lead, but instead taking the leadership that is in front of you and supporting it and protecting it. I think that would be a really positive, powerful next step.
You called the role. What do you make of the fact that it is, there are, I should say, a number of black women who are really trying to lead the way, trying to be a force for good right about now?
Absolutely, because they already know what time it is. We all inherited the mandate from Fannie Lou Hamer, who you and Doc West were mentioning in love and importance earlier in the show, is that they already know what time it is. You know, black women are responsible for bringing black life into the world. So who better to sense that it's boots on the ground, all hands on deck, and what we need in our future than the people who bring black future into existence. So it makes sense to get behind that, but it also makes sense to protect it. I have not necessarily seen, for example, Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett be protected by the Democratic infrastructure as she's going and campaigning and touring around and raising funds for the party. I haven't really seen, for example, Representative Malcolm Kenyatta, who's the vice chair of the DNC, be protected in his leadership and be elevated for what he's doing for America's only other party at this particular point, the Democratic Party.
Yeah. You mentioned the black future. I know you teach black history at UCLA. But when you're in these classes and you're talking about black history, how do you link that to the present, much less to the future of black folk in this country in a moment like this?
Yeah, I say two things. First, each of us needs all of us. So especially when we're thinking about black politics, we never just get America to do it on its own just based on our sweat equity. It's about allies and other people seeing the shared humanity in the struggle and joining it and putting their voices up there. The second part is that I say to them at the end of my class, when I teach it for the full year, in a world where everything costs something, it is entirely free to change your mind. And if we can look through history so many times and see it was mindset, heart set change that made everything happen. The Civil War, mindset, heart set shift changes the whole thing. And it was free to change your mind. So also helping people understand that it is entirely free for you to have picked somebody in November and change your mind about them in July. It is totally fine. And in fact, that's maybe more of what we need so that you don't have to feel like you're locked in for life on this one choice.
Yep. You wrote a powerful book about reparations. I'm tracking this. We have a conversation coming up, I think, next week, on this program about what's happening here in California. I say all the time, what happens in California politics either cast a long shadow or a long sunbeam across the nation. Many of us were very disappointed in Gavin Newsom and, frankly, those black electeds in the legislature at what happened last year or didn't happen last year, if I can put it that way. Speaking of mindset and heart set, we were not happy last year about what happened. But I'm wondering with regard to reparations in this particular moment, it seems to be in the Trump era, not one of those issues that's going to gain much traction, at least not at the federal level. Municipalities are doing more about it. Is it your sense that in your lifetime, in my lifetime, that there's going to be a mindset change, a heart set change on the issue of reparations?
Yeah, I think it's already happening in that we are able to talk about it. We're able to have opinions about it. People are camping out in pros and cons. And then even just, I want to say yesterday, as you know, I've spent time down in Tulsa, and attorney DeMario Solomon Simmons, he's been fighting on behalf of the Black Creek Nation that traveled as property during the Trail of Tears and have been denied full membership in the tribe. And they went to the court and they were awarded membership after 46 years of being denied. That is a form of repair, and that is happening in Oklahoma, a red state, as Donald Trump is president, and it's just not making news. So I also often, as you heard me say before, I think if there was enough news that joined what you've been doing and your station has been doing and tracking these stories and sharing them with the American public, people would be surprised to find out the volume and velocity of where and the momentum of where reparative justice is going, even as Donald Trump is president.
Yeah. He's a UCLA professor of African American Studies, Marcus Anthony Hunter. Delighted to have him as one of our regular contributors on this program. He was not on the docket today, but he showed up anyway, and I appreciate it. Marcus Anthony Hunter, thank you for your insights. You already know, man. We'll talk to you soon. Thank you, brother.
Peace.
More of Tavis, Smiley, when we come forward.
For all the freedom-loving folk This is Tavis Smiley.
I feel like freedom.
I'm Bree Wood with BIN News Now. New York now requires all public schools to have a cardiac emergency response plan. Governor Kathy Hochul signed DESHA's law, named after a 12-year-old girl who died after collapsing in gym.
And while there were defibrillators in the area, in the school, they were locked up. People didn't know how to use them. There wasn't proper training. And I believe perhaps her little life could have been saved.
This law will ensure staff are trained and ready to act in cardiac emergencies. In Norfolk, Virginia, police falsely accused a black man of a drug deal after he gave two people a ride for gas money. Officers stopped and searched him, but found no drugs. The man says he was just being a good Samaritan. And Harvard is reassigning staff from its diversity office to a new Office of Community and Campus Life. The move follows federal pressure to dismantle DEI programs. The office will support first-gen and low-income students. Keep BIN News Now on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
The Crohn's and Colitis Foundation has been at the forefront of inflammatory bowel disease research and care for over 50 years. Learn more about research, education, and support at Crohn'sColitisFoundation.org.
For victims of drunk and drug driving, our grief is unique, but you are not alone. You always have a place at MAD. Call our 24-hour victim helpline at 877-MAD-HELP or visit mad.org.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
The Dodgers got a dramatic win at home on Wednesday. Freddie Freeman delivered a 2-out, 2-run single in the bottom of the ninth to lift the Dodgers to a 4-3 win over Minnesota. Shohei Ohtani set a Dodgers record with a home run in 5 straight games. Ohtani hit his 37th in the first inning. The Angels were swept by the Mets in New York. They lost 6-3. The Angels could have swept the 3-game series with a couple of timely hits. They left 27 men on base in the series. The LA Sparks are at the Connecticut Sun tonight. The Sparks are aiming for their first 4-game winning streak in the WNBA since August 19, 2023. Congratulations to tennis legend Venus Williams. The 45-year-old Compton native confirmed her engagement to Andre Predig, a 37-year-old actor from Denmark. Venus has a second-round match tonight in the DC Open against Magdalena Frek of Poland. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
Give people what they want.
At KBLA Talk 1580, we aim to foster enlightening, sustainable, restorative dialogue, and we welcome unapologetically progressive viewpoints that empower fellow citizens. We are now accepting submissions for KBLA Talk 1580 guest editorials like this one.
With the KBLA Talk 1580 guest editorial, I'm Martin Gordon, chair of the Pasadena Community Coalition. Recently, I listened to a Tavis Smiley show conversation with James Farr. James said something that caught me off guard. Black Altadena is gone. My community is being murdered. I said murdered.
All you have to do is go to our website homepage at KBLA1580.com and click on the icon that says KBLA Guest Editorials to learn more about our editorial standards and content submission guidelines. As long as the topic aligns with our mission, we are happy to review your submission and consider it for broadcast. We can't make any promises, but we want to amplify progressive perspectives that are community-focused and solution-oriented. So, go to KBLA1580.com right now to download all the information you need about our guest editorials. At KBLA Talk 1580, we've got your black.
We've got a lot to talk about.
I'm Reverend Gerald, the life coach. Is someone you love struggling with addiction and mental illness? Is improving your family's health important? Want to leave a legacy that your family can grow? Are you ready to enhance your perception of life experiences? Then wake up weekends at 7 a.m. with Urban Family Focus and get the wisdom, opportunity, resources, and motivation to live your best life. Join the conversation on Urban Family Focus Saturday and Sunday at 7 a.m.
Unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got your black. This is KBLA Talk 1580. Talk radio. That's music to your ears. We're unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580.
Paid for by government.com. Did you know the United States Mint has issued a new Morgan silver dollar coin in proof condition for the first time? Not only that, they are also minted in 99.9% pure silver for the first time ever in history. Coin experts are calling this an amazing opportunity for anyone that knows the enduring popularity of Morgans. But you must hurry. Only 400,000 of these legal tender silver dollars were issued. These first ever Morgan silver dollars are brand new with stunning mirror-like finish, minted by the iconic San Francisco Mint. Call now and you're guaranteed a new first ever 99.9% pure silver proof Morgan dollar. To learn more, call 1-800-973-9717. If you order now, you will receive a free coin collector bonus pack, a $25 value, free with every order. Call 1-800-973-9717 now to secure your new Morgan silver dollars before they are gone. That's 1-800-973-9717.
Helping to make you the most knowledgeable person in your circle of friends. This is Tavis Smiley.
We close our show with this today. Yesterday, the House Oversight Subcommittee on Federal Law Enforcement passed Congresswoman Summer Lee's motion to subpoena the Department of Justice for the full unredacted release of the Jeffrey Epstein files. We've been talking about that for the better part of our show today. The files must be released to the House Oversight Subcommittee by the Department of Justice. The motion passed with bipartisan support on a vote of 8-2. I am pleased now to have on this program Congresswoman Summer Lee. Congresswoman, how are you today?
I'm doing quite all right. Good now that I'm here with you.
Oh, I'm better to have you on this program. Thank you. I know this. I know people are pulling at you given this vote that happened yesterday and how you were able to get this thing across the finish line. So thank you for putting us on your very, very busy calendar. Let me just start by asking you what happened yesterday in the subcommittee. Take me inside the room.
Yeah, so we had a hearing, which honestly, we actually don't have that many in the subcommittee because I think the subcommittee is so chaotic. So we finally have a hearing where we're set to talk about, the Republicans' claims that children who are coming across the border unaccompanied are being sex trafficked by NGOs. That was the claim that they made. So they started to talk about this as a sex trafficking, hearing. So we wanted to take the opportunity, and we saw the opportunity with just the makeup of the committee, right, with the hearing itself, to bring this back to the Epstein files. We know that all across the country, people have been talking about that. They've been demanding it. So honestly, we thought that this might be one of the better opportunities to actually get a bipartisan vote, because if it had to come to the whole floor, as we saw, it wasn't going to happen. And when it came to some of the other committees, I didn't know that they can get done there, but we were actually able to pull this one off here in this committee. Largely, we kept our powder dry, as they say. We weren't talking too loudly about it. So folks didn't know. I don't think that the Republicans on the panel knew to expect it. But I think that when they were faced with it, they realized that they either had to, they had to choose. They had to choose to go with their base, to respond to their base, or they had to choose undying loyalty to a president that's lying.
Yeah.
I was shocked too.
Yep. You are the ranking member on this committee, correct?
Yes.
The subcommittee. So tell me more specifically. I read an introductory piece here, but tell me specifically what your motion that you did get passed yesterday. What does this motion call for? What does it do?
So this motion calls very simply for the subcommittee. So this is the subcommittee in the Oversight Committee on Federal Law Enforcement. It calls for us to subpoena the DOJ, that they release the full, complete, unredacted Epstein files to our subcommittee. Now that motion passed, what that basically means is that Comer now is obligated to send that subpoena. Once he signs it, it goes to them, and then they are compelled to send it back to us at that point.
Yeah. When you say compel, yeah, I heard you add the word technically at the end. I'm glad. I am so glad you went there.
I know who I'm dealing with.
Yeah, you're dealing with. Thank you. You read my mind. So when you say compelled, technically, to turn these documents over to the subcommittee, what does that really mean? And I asked that because I have a really bright audience, and we know we all paid attention to the Benny Thompson hearings, the 9/11. The 9/11. the insurrection, the January 6th thing. Yeah, the January 6th subcommittee. So many of these major dates around my head right now. So the January 6th subcommittee, the select committee that Benny Thompson out of Mississippi chaired, we watched that committee do some amazing work. And we know that they really didn't have the power to do anything but do the investigation. Then it was up to Merrick Garland at the Department of Justice when he was AG to do something about it. Merrick Garland, as we all know, dragged his feet. Don't get me started about that. I've opined on it any number of times about the way Merrick Garland slowed this train down that allowed Donald Trump in some ways to be back in the White House. I digress on that for now. So we know that, again, committees in the House have certain powers, other powers they don't have. So tell me what this really, really means, Congresswoman Lee.
Yeah, so this is where we'll start, right?
Okay.
This subcommittee, well, first of all, our overall committee, the Oversight Committee in Congress and the House, we do have subpoena powers, and so does our subcommittee.
Right.
So that power does exist within our subcommittee. So that vote is a legally binding vote, right? We have the power to actually compel that and to do that. Now, we know who we're dealing with, right? At the end of the day, I know I'm not, and honestly, I don't think any of you are, any of my Democratic colleagues are under any illusion about what we're dealing with right now. Right? We've all been watching. Some folks been watching it longer, like you just mentioned, right?
Yeah.
Some folks have been watching it as long back as early days, of the first Trump administration. But we've been watching in this Trump administration as they've obviously crossed every line they can, right? We've watched as he's, tiptoed into other jurisdictions, the judiciary, into the legislative branch. He's been testing every bound, right? Really putting a big stress test on our checks and balances. So what I'll say is that in precedented times, this is legally binding in precedented times.
Sure.
But what I will also add, though, is that unlike a lot of the other things where Donald Trump might just sidestep, right, or Republicans, will just ignore what a Democrat asks. First of all, this was bipartisan.
Yeah.
There were Republicans who voted for this. So that's one. Two, this is a dam breaking moment. And it isn't because we finally forced this vote on the subpoena and got it over the finish line. Right. It's a dam breaking moment because their constituents are calling for it. Their base, our base, all over the country, Democrats, Republicans, and independents, folks from all types of districts and backgrounds. We're calling for this because fundamentally they are demanding transparency. They're tired of the appearance and the reality of corruption. And they're telling us to put our money where our mouth is, right? Prove that you're not corrupt. Prove that, the rich and the powerful, don't have to live by one set of rules or one set of protections that, everyday folks don't have to live by. So they're going to put more stress on this. So if the DOJ, tries to drag their feet, or if Comer tries to drag his feet after he said he'd sign it, I expect that the people of America are not going to go for that right now.
Yeah, I'm laughing, Congresswoman Lee, because I love that phrase. Yeah, you use a dam breaking moment. The way you spell damn and the way Donald Trump spells damn ain't the same on this issue. When you say a damn breaking moment, he ain't spelling it the way you spelling it, but it is a damn breaking moment any way you want to read it, right? So since you mentioned these Republicans, I mentioned this earlier in our show today that you did in fact get bipartisan support on this. The vote, as I mentioned earlier, was 8-2. That is rare. It's extremely rare, particularly on something like this where Donald Trump is being put up against the wall. What did you make of these Republicans voting with you yesterday?
So first, right, this is, the moment was surreal. It was a moment unlike anything I've experienced.
Right.
This is my second term in Congress. I also served 2 terms in the State House.
Right.
Each of those terms, I've been in a minority.
Yeah.
So to be able to actually, run the table, to call a motion that it passed, even amendments, right? What are the amendments that they tried to, at the last minute push on our motion and try to, give the DOJ a little bit of cover? We heard Nancy Mace, tried that. She wanted to put in a different word.
Right.
They wanted to pretend that one word doesn't have legal implication, right? That one word doesn't matter. That motion, that amendment failed. I've never seen anything like it. At the end of the day, Higgins even said, he was like, I might be the only one on our side who doesn't vote for this. So I will say that I was a little bit shocked, but the larger part of me, the more strategic part of us, me and our new ranking member, Robert Garcia, we really, really believe that this was the opportunity. If you all look at that panel, who are the Republicans on that committee, right? We got Lauren Boebert, Nancy Mace, Biggs, Higgins, Scott Perry. These are folks who buck the system more than the others. Right? It's the Freedom Caucus folks. They're the ones who causing the most trouble. But they're also the ones who called for the Epstein files to be released very loudly. So I just called that out, right? I just pointed it out, right? Like, hey, you guys said you wanted to do that. We're saying we want to do it. Your folks are saying that we want to do it. So why don't we just do it together now? Why don't we just stop running? We're giving them an opportunity to stop running and hiding.
She's a bad girl. She's a bad girl. She's Summer Lee out of Pittsburgh, Congresswoman. And again, I rarely seen anything like this in my career, where on something this controversial a measure that's putting the president in hot water, that you convince 2 members of his party to come with you. I suggested earlier in this program, she calls it a dam-breaking moment. It is. I referred to it earlier as Donald Trump's Waterloo, or maybe even his Watergate. But this is a critical moment. And frankly, of all the talk that you're hearing right now about these Epstein files, this is the most important development. Make no mistake about it. The fact that this subcommittee passed Summer Lee's motion is the most critical movement to date on this Jeffrey Epstein matter. Now, we'll see what comes of it, as she said a moment ago, but it was a major, major move yesterday for her to get this passed. I celebrate and congratulate Congresswoman Summer Lee. More with her when we come forward on Tavis Smiley.
From the Mert Park with love, this is Tavis Smiley.
At KBLA Talk 1580, we're proud to be celebrating 4 years on the air, but we know we could not have made it this far without you. We work hard every single day to curate conversations that will enlighten, encourage, and empower you. So, from all of us at KBLA Talk 1580, a big thank you for your love and support.
You don't know how much you mean to me.
And by the way, if your smartphone did not update automatically, be sure to download our brand new KBLA 1580 app. We think you'll love all the new features, including new ways to send us photos and video in real time, whenever news breaks, while we're on the air. It's a new dawn, a new day for KBLA Talk 1580, and we're glad you're on this journey with us.
You never turned away, you were right there. Thank you, thank you.
We asked seniors how to prevent Medicare scams.
My best advice, if you get a phone call, do not talk to the person. These people are well trained. Don't talk to them.
They don't know me. They're just trying to scam me.
Don't be fooled. Hang up.
Just hang up.
Never give out your Medicare number.
They're going to get your number to put in a false claim.
If I get a call from someone, I don't pick up the phone. And should I pick up the phone and they ask for information, then I hang up.
How do you detect Medicare fraud?
Just like I check my credit card statements, I check my Medicare statements monthly.
Scammers can get a hold of your number, order medical devices through your account, and you're not even going to know about it if you don't look at your statement.
Check your statement every month.
If you get your statement and you see something that you know you did not have done, you report it.
Call your Senior Medicare Patrol.
To report Medicare fraud, call the Senior Medicare Patrol at 855-613-7080.
Paul's new drone startup just lost its most genius computer scientist.
We just lost our best genius to some new genius who's got a genius new idea. I'm going to have to find a new genius, or 2 half geniuses, and fast.
He needs a computer scientist that can keep his startup from falling down.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. When you sponsor a job on Indeed, it's easier for talented candidates to find it, which makes it easier for you to hire them. Visit Indeed.com/credit and get $75 towards your first sponsored job. Terms and conditions apply.
I can't believe how spotless my floors look after using the Swiffer Power Mop. No more dragging around a heavy mop and messy bucket. Now I get the same deep clean without all the work. Thanks to the powerful solution and scrubbing pad of the Swiffer Power Mop, dirt and grime don't stand a chance, and I don't break a sweat. Mic drop. Mop drop.
Swiffer Power Mop. Swiffer Power Mop.
A smarter way to mop. Try it or your money back.
Made fresh daily in the Mert Park, Los Angeles, California. California. You're listening to Tavis Smiley.
Tavis Smiley in Pittsburgh, Congresswoman Summer Lee, who yesterday succeeded in getting her motion passed for the Department of Justice to provide the full unredacted Jeffrey Epstein files to her subcommittee. It was a major moment, as she referred to it, a dam-breaking moment, and I don't disagree with her at all. I'm watching these polls, and there is more data, Congresswoman, that suggests that Republicans are not happy with the way that Donald Trump is handling this Epstein matter. Again, I go back to Watergate. I was just a kid then, but I've obviously studied it and read it over many, many years. There was a moment when, as I said earlier in today's program, Republicans started to turn against Richard Nixon. I'm not suggesting we're there now, but the fact that you got two Republicans to vote with you, combined with or conjoined with the polling data, which suggests that Republicans are not happy with the way he's handling this, Donald Trump is in some trouble. How much trouble?
You know, I don't necessarily want to speculate on that, because what we know is that man has, I guess he's been the Teflon Don, right?
He has been.
He said it himself that he can go to Fifth Avenue and kill somebody. Yeah. So when I say that man has survived more scandals in like American political history than anybody could have ever conceived, like somebody's early presidents are turning in their grave, knowing all the things he's done. But we also know that, you know, nothing lasts forever. And then I don't know if it's going to come, you know, from the grassroots, but I know it's going to come from the top. And I feel like, you know, after these, you know, he already gave those super billionaires their tax cuts, you know, a couple weeks ago. So I don't know if they're starting to think if they have too much need for him anymore, right? As that stuff starts to trickle down, things can turn fast, right? He's showing these folks who he is right now for whatever reason, right? It isn't going to be racial justice. It wasn't that, right? It wasn't cutting Medicaid to the poor. You know, it wasn't SNAP benefits. But for whatever reason, this has resonated with people. And they feel betrayed, and they're looking for answers. And he is a guy who's accustomed to not having to give them. So I'm going to be really interested to see, you know, do people stick with them, or is this an eye-opening moment for them too? Or do we go backwards? But I think that things are changing one way or another.
And to your point, it's not all those issues that you just ran down. I don't need to repeat your list. It's not all those issues that seems to have gotten him in trouble. It is this Jeffrey Epstein issue that was really their issue when they were running. And now it's like an albatross around their neck. With all due respect to Hakeem Jeffries, your leader in the House, it's nothing that he did or any other Democrat did that's gotten Donald Trump against the wall. It happens again to be this Jeffrey Epstein matter, but it does raise the question, even though again Democrats had nothing to do with it, how do Democrats move in this moment? How do they, for lack of a better word, exploit this? I mean, what is the next move for Democrats in a moment like this?
You know, I'm going to be a controversial one, because I think that Democrats still have to do their own introspection. I think that obviously when we get, you know, when we are able to kind of, you know, grab victory out of the jaws of defeat, you know, instead of the other way around, I think we should always choose that one, right? We should do it, right? If his people in particular are being moved by something that actually is values aligned, you know, we shouldn't run from it. And I think that right now we chose not to do that. And as we see, you know, there's going to be hopefully some meaningful action that comes out of it. But in the meantime, you know, I think that just looking at some of the different races across the country, like Zoran Mondani up in New York, seeing, you know, how people are really connecting the dots. You know, for American people, like people are tired of bullcrap. You know, they're tired of corruption. This is what that is, right? People tired of corruption. They're tired of the institution protecting itself. You know, people want to see Democrats in the trenches for them. That's going to look different for different people, but there is a way to be in the trenches for everybody, right? So whether it's, you know, digging deep on affordability, you know, people are tired of not being able to afford their groceries and then having rent that's too high and then, you know, having to pay all their student loan debt and everything. We're tired. People are tired of that. You know, it might look like, you know, they need health care. Not cuts, we need expansion, right? So it might look like being in the trenches with that. You know, it might look like recognizing what working class people are actually going through and just showing empathy for it. But I think that getting to that authentic base, that real grassroots, is going to be a winner for us. But to be authentic, it has to be authentically you. And if you can't meet this authentic moment, we got to start talking about, you know, who are some of the people who maybe this moment just isn't for them. And where are the opportunities to get some people who are ready for this authentic moment?
I hear you. When we come forward in our remaining moments with Congresswoman Summer Lee, just a couple more questions for her, and we'll let her go. You're listening to Tavis Smiley.
Helping to stretch your moral and political imagination. This is Tavis Smiley. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580 reminds you that we keep us safe. Every girl deserves a chance to shine. That's the belief behind Forgiving for Living, Inc. Since 1999, this organization has been empowering at-risk girls ages 13 to 18, helping them overcome behavioral and mental health challenges. Founder Wendy Gladney's personal journey inspired the mission to give girls hope and purpose through the power of forgiveness. Through their ambassador program, workshops, and annual conference, Forgiving for Living has touched over 3,000 young lives, providing mentoring, life skills, training, and tools for building self-esteem and confidence. You can make a difference. Visit forgivingforliving.org to donate, volunteer, become a mentor, or find help for a young girl in need. Forgiving for Living, Inc., building brighter futures for young girls. Visit forgivingforliving.org today. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
You hear that? That's Mike sleeping soundly on a Sunday night. That's because Mike was smart this time. He took ZQL Ultra to fall asleep fast, stay asleep longer, and get the deeply restorative sleep he needs. So now he wakes up refreshed and ready to conquer Mondays.
Let's do this Monday.
ZQL Ultra. Not for colds, just for sleep. Really great sleep. Use as directed. Keep out of reach of children.
Why'd I go to the doctor? My heart would race just taking my son to practice. It didn't feel right. So I got checked out. Turns out I have atrial fibrillation, which increases the risk of stroke about 5 times.
Symptoms like irregular heartbeat, heart racing, chest pain, shortness of breath, fatigue, or lightheadedness can come and go. But if it's AFib, the risk of stroke remains. If you have symptoms, contact a doctor.
I'm so glad I did.
Visit notimetowait.com. Sponsored by Bristol-Myers Squibb and Pfizer.
If you're like me, 60 and retired, making ends meet, especially here at the supermarket and drugstore, is tough. I'm so blessed to have found benefitscheckup.org. It's a free and confidential website from the National Council on Aging that connected me to $1,200 a year in programs that help pay for food, medicine, utilities, and more. Maybe it can help you. benefitscheckup.org.
You know where you want to go in life, and City National Bank can help. City National knows the dedication it takes to build your vision for the future into a reality, and our team is here for you. We have a wide range of options to help, from personal savings accounts to interest-bearing money market savings accounts and more, all designed to help you get where you want to go. City National, here for every stage of the journey. Learn more at cnb.com. City National Bank is a subsidiary of Royal Bank of Canada, member FDIC.
Let's get back to more of this rich dialogue with Tavis Smiley.
Got a quick question here before we lose Congresswoman Summer Lee. Your sense of the agency that your committee has if they go rogue on you, Congresswoman, after passing your motion.
I think it's going to be interesting, right? Comer, of course, said that he's going to respect the vote, but this is still, at the end of the day, a Republican-led committee, like they all are. So I like to hope that they'll honor even their own Republicans. It's going to push them up against the wall, though, right? Yeah. Because if they don't, and if he doesn't step up, and if he doesn't, call for accountability here, if they go rogue, he's going to put his own members in a tough spot. Yeah. So I think we'll see. Right now, before we speculate, we're gonna wait. We're expecting them. I expect that they'll come over, and when they don't, we'll take it from there, and we'll catch back up with next steps.
She had a big moment yesterday getting her motion passed for the Department of Justice to turn over all these files, a full, unredacted release of the Epstein files to her subcommittee. We will see what happens, but I celebrate her work and witness. Congresswoman, you're a bad girl. Thank you for your time. Good to have you on the program.
Thank you for having me, brother.
My pleasure. It's been a rough week. Malcolm Jamal Warner on Sunday. Then came news of Ozzy Osbourne. Then came news of Hulk Hogan. And now comes news that earlier this week, just announced now, but earlier this week we lost Chuck Mangione. What a tough week it has been. We close with one of his best tracks ever. Chuck Mangione, love that guy. I'm Tavis Smiley. Thanks for tuning in. What a week. I love you. Love you all. Until the next time, keep the faith.